Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG deck lists. This time we're bringing on Alfie Morton for a return visit, taking 8th place at the Irish Open, which was a 102 person event, and once again he's playing True Draco. There's a really interesting twist to things here. So as per usual, we'll run through the deck, get the rounds and the siding strategy sorted and out the way, and then we'll bring on Alfie to have a chat about the deck itself. So we kick things off with triple Amano Awato, 1 Ignis, double Majesty Maiden, double Masterpiece, triple Demise, triple Disciples, triple Diagram, triple Desires, triple Duality, triple Terraforming, triple Heritage, 1 Upstart Goblin, triple Anti-Spell in the main, 1 Imperial Order, 1 Skill Drain, 1 Judgment, triple Apocalypse, and 1 Return. Next up we have something which is very unusual within a True Draco list, and something that I don't believe we've seen on the channel before. We're going to take a look at the extra deck. So we start off with the Cherries targets. So we have 1 Buster, 1 Macabre, 1 Electromite, 1 Phantom Quartz. Then we have a Beals, which can either be a Cherries target for those situations when you know your opponent's going to bring it in against you, or it can just be a Beals because it's really useful in the mirror match. You can actually make this within the deck. Then we have 1 Omega, 1 Durendal, 1 Shark Fortress, which is sort of like your OTK enabler, 1 Zenmayo for popping back row, a Volcasaurus, which goes with the Gaia for extra damage, then a Freezedon, which I believe can negate an effect, and a Crystal Zero Lancer, which is pretty cool. Then for the rank 8, it's a Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon, and to go with it, a number 95 Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter Dragon. So an extra deck that is not just used for the Cherries targets. These cards within the Xyz portion and the Synchro portion can actually be summoned with the deck. When I first looked at the list, I thought, oh, he's just playing it for the Cherries targets because these are the things that really jump out at you. But then obviously these are actually makeable within the deck, which is really cool to see. And really changes up your opinion of what the deck can do. So for the side deck, triple Ash Blossom and triple Cherries, then triple Evenly Matched, pretty much a staple at the moment. Imperial Iron Wall is very important within this deck for combating some of the weaknesses. Things like 60 card can sometimes be an issue, but with floodgates like Imperial Iron Wall, you do significantly better in that sort of matchup. And the same thing can be said for Rivalry of Warlords, one of the best floodgates in existence because you don't need to have it immediately, so you can just sort of flip it up at a point during your opponent's turn. Even if they're taking turn 1, you take your turn, you set a rivalry, then they start going again, and you just flip this up and suddenly you're stealing the game from it, which is really cool to see. So that's it for the deck itself. For the rounds that Alfie played, round 1 he went against 60 card and went 2-0. Round 2 against Pendulum Magician he went 2-1. Round 3 against the Tellarknights, very grindy game, and went 1-1. Round 4 against Cosmo Draco, this is his only loss from the event, he went 1-2. Round 5 against Paleozoic he went 2-1. Round 6 against Metal Foes he went 2-0. And round 7 against 60 card Dynasty 1 he went 2-1. If you want the full report from the regional, from the Open, then head into the description. There's a Google Doc which you can check out, which has all of Alfie's comments on each of the matches, and that gives you some extra insight into how everything went and what performed the best. But now we're going to take a look at the siding strategy. So if you're going against True Draco, going first, you'd put in the 3 Iron Walls and take out the Amanos. Basically, you need to be able to stop an Evenly Match or a Cosmic Cyclone, but also, just stop a Desires as well. It's really cool to be able to have that usefulness within it. Going second, putting in the Ash Blossoms to stop all of the draw power, and then taking out all the floodgates because it's too late at that point. You just want to really break the board. For Pendulum Magician, no changes going first, but going second, obviously putting in the Ghost Reaper and Evenly to take out those boards. And another case of signing up floodgates. So basically, when you're going second, Alfie was taking out the 6 major traps that stop your opponent from playing, because you just want to break up their board and then remove all their resources through your own Draco spells and traps, basically. For 60 card, again we have Iron Walls for Manos going in first, and going second The Rivalry, really useful for stopping them from making a big push and just taking away resources, even when you're going second. And then Ash Blossom, obviously, for the grass. Against Trickstar, so slightly reduced taking out list, because the deck is fairly slow in itself. Trickstar obviously trying to burn you, so he's taking out all of the traps that would do damage to yourself. So the Judgment is really key here, because they can very easily put 4,000 just through burn damage. So you need to be able to avoid that scenario. So Iron Walls for going first to stop Reincarnation, and Ash for going second also to stop Reincarnation, I believe. So that's it for the siding strategy. Let's bring on Alfie to have a chat about the deck. Hi Alfie, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Congratulations on getting, was it 8th place at the Irish Open, I believe?
Yeah, 8th.
Yeah, so not quite the first from the last time that we had you, but still really solid to get that record.
Yep.
So playing the True Draco Demise build as before, but you've made a few changes. Mostly, I'm quite excited about is this having the switched up side deck and an extra deck, which we don't often see in True Draco.
No. Yeah.
So this will be pretty interesting. So that's actually, is that okay if we start by talking about that? So you decided to basically take out the erupts that you used to have in the main, and you went with the triple anti-spell and the order. Did you think that erupt just wasn't so good in the way that the format has changed? Did you think anti-spells better?
Yeah, so we've kind of we've got an established meta now. Obviously Magician and Draco are going to be the best decks.
Mm-hmm.
So people playing Draco, having erupt in the main is not going to be that great. So I decided to put 3 anti-spell in, because it's the most versatile floodgate, and it hits most of the decks in the meta.
Yeah.
Hits Drake, it's good against the mirror, it's good against Pendulum, it's good against all decks basically, whereas Erupt, if you're playing the mirror, is just useless.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
And I think playing Erupt is, you've already got 6 amazing floodgates in the deck, and I think Erupt is too much.
Yeah.
And I think Rivalry of the Warlords is basically Monarch's Erupt anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because it only gives them 1 monster basically.
Yeah.
Which hinders them enough.
Sure, okay. So then, with that switch from the Erupt, it enables you to actually play an extra deck. So you then have the opportunity to play Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries within the side. So how did you find this as an option for you?
I think it was really good. I only had to use it against Magician, because I didn't play any Invoked, ABC, or Gem Knights.
Mm-hmm.
I was originally going to play Dante as well, but I didn't in the end. I didn't really want to play Toad, because I think my matchup is pretty strong against that anyway.
Yeah.
It's also good because it makes Beals, because it's a dark tuner. It doesn't come up that much, but it can in the mirror,
which
is
true.
Always good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the extra deck, because cards like Durendal are really good in grind game situations, where the only way they can win is top deck something like a Demise or something like that, and that can just lock them out. It's kind of like Yatta, I guess, where the card that they're getting is not doing anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really play Freezerdon again.
Mm-hmm.
The Freezerdon package with Crystal Zero Lancer, I don't think it was that strong.
Okay. Do you know what sort of thing you'd change it up for then?
Not in particular, no. Maybe a 38.
Okay.
I was also, or maybe a Dante.
Yeah.
I was originally going to play Xenophon's The Sky Prison, which is, if you don't know what it is, it's the XZ Tim promo, the rank 8 guy.
Okay.
It basically just says neither player can special summon from the grave, which just helps against 60 cards, but it's not that great.
Yeah, but it's definitely one of the harder matchups, I think, sometimes that you face when you're going at 60 card, if you don't have the typical setup ready.
Yeah.
So having that option available, it's a nice extra to be able to take on board.
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool. So yeah, that's basically sort of the main thing that I wanted to bring up about the deck, because that's sort of the biggest change really that we've seen. As per usual with a True Draco build, you've gone for a ton of 3-ofs that makes it not only look nice but also play more consistently, which is always good.
Yep.
So I'm going to focus more sort of on the side deck point of things, or and then if there are any other comments you want to make on the rest of it, feel free to jump in at any point. Um, So I think the Ash is fairly standard, and Ghost Reaper you've covered. One thing related to sort of your side deck strategy was in a lot of the different matchups you're bringing in evenly as a 3-off, because it's potentially like it can just steal the game from your opponent.
Definitely.
Do you ever think that it can be problematic to do that, because sometimes you have people who are used to who are anticipating an evenly. So if you go up against someone who's like played a significant number of games recently, they might be like, oh, I'm just going to set on like one monster and maybe one floodgate or something, or one set card, and then have the rest of the resources in their hand. Does that ever become a problem, or do you think that most people will just sort of play into an evenly anyway?
Well, I think what's the percentage of drawing evenly going seconds, like 40%, and that is something that people wouldn't be willing. Well, people think you have a good odds of drawing it.
Yeah.
But I don't think people would play around evenly with this kind of like deck, because most decks are setting up multiple negates this format anyway.
Oh, sure.
So I think evenly is like a card which you can deal with.
Yeah. So then if they do potentially try and go into setting up multiple negates, you then have the cherries to deal with it, and the Ash as well.
Yeah, so like Trickster have Reincarnation, Invoked have Macabre, True Draco have stuff like Iron Wall and Judgment, Magician of Vortex. So it's not really you can commit to it.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. So moving on with the side deck then, you decided to bring in triple Iron Wall. I don't think this. I can't remember if it was in your last list or if you didn't think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Was it? Were you playing it at 2 then?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So bring this up to 3 then. Did this perform pretty well for you on the day? Did you think it's a staple now within the deck?
Yeah. The misconception is that it's sided for things like Cosmic Cyclone and evenly matched. But bringing in side cards for your opponent's side cards isn't really like that great.
Okay.
What it's really for is for like 60 cards, Invoked, ABC, Tricksters, because that shuts down Reincarnation. It shuts down the whole grave of Light Swans. It stops Invocation. It stops summoning in Dragon Buster.
Yeah.
So it pretty much shuts down their whole deck basically. With the added bonus that it does prevent like Cosmic Cyclone and even the match as well.
Yeah, so that's just sort of an additional nice effect on there as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. And you mentioned Rivalry before, just being essentially a good version of Erupt that doesn't mean you have to not play an extra deck.
Yeah.
Do you think it's the sort of thing that could potentially be main decked in this format, or do you think there are too many decks where they just play a single type of monster?
I don't think it's worth main decking in Draco at all, because you want your deck to win the mirror, and you want to have the most versatile floodgates, whereas Rivalry does nothing in the mirror anyway.
Okay.
But you always side it in against other matchups. Like I side it in and go in second against Light Swan, because if he just set up a bunch of negates, you can just set that in their turn, you can just use that.
Sure, yeah. Okay.
Leave them with one. Another side card I was thinking of playing was Fossil Diner.
Oh, sure. Yep.
Recently found this really good against Mech Knight Invoked, because if you just summon it, they can't summon a Mech Knight, they can't use Invocation, so they can't really out it unless they have like a Mind Control or Blood White.
Yeah.
So that was really good. Also, it's good against Magician SO.
Oh, yeah.
Say if you don't draw, I don't know what, like cherries or an evenly matched, you can just set the Fossil Diner.
Yeah.
And then they'll attack into it. And because SO only stops you using effects in your turn, it'll just blow up their entire board.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. But I decided over put Iron Wall in anyway.
Yeah.
Instead.
Sure, okay. Right, so that's it for the side deck. Then for the extra deck, so you've mostly, a large portion of this is obviously the cherries targets. So prioritizing ABC, Invoked, Pendulum, Gemini FTK, that sort of thing. But then you do have, of course, the option to actually make some of these different Xyz monsters, and as you mentioned, you can make things like Beals with your tuners. and Omega, of course. So, because this is sort of a slightly different take on the deck, you have mentioned Durandal already. Can I get your reasoning behind pretty much everything else? Because this is the sort of thing that we haven't really seen on the channel before.
Okay, so Omega is just a card you can make with an Ignis and the Tuner, or a Maiden. It can be used in Grime states to just take a card out of your opponent's hand every turn, and can also be used to put back your continuous spells and traps for Masterpiece.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Shark Fortress is good for OTKing, so if you have like a Masterpiece and just that, and you have a return, you bring back one of your guys in the end phase, and you bring back one of your guys in your turn, and then you make a Shark Fortress, and that's game.
Yeah, okay.
Zenmouth is good against Paleozoic and the Mirror Match, because it just gets rid of 2 set cards.
Yep.
Volcasaurus, old card, it's like a hat format. The combo with Gaia, it does so much damage. It came up once, it's okay. Freezedon package, probably wouldn't play that, but it was good in theory for the most part.
Okay.
Gaia just put on top of your guys once you've used them.
Yep.
Cypher Dragon, the idea of this was to steal one of your guys, or just put it on your Masterpiece and then summon Dark Matter to like clear boards or out Masterpiece in the mirror.
Okay, yeah, that's really cool. I think having the ability to access all of these cards is just a really nice extra level of versatility that typical True Draco doesn't have. So yeah, that's a really cool option to be able to have. So since I've got you here, I'll just briefly want to cover a couple more things. So compared to the last time we saw you come on with True Draco, when you were playing the non-extra deck version, very much just sort of set yourself up and win by generating advantage and sitting on floodgates. Do you think now, since True Draco has become much more prevalent within the meta, that it takes a bit more skill to play the deck, or do you think that it's exactly the same as before, but you just see a few more different things coming in and people expect True Draco a bit more?
Well, I think people obviously have pinpointed Draco as probably the best deck at the moment. So they are siding heavily for it. Most people like blind second game 2 or 3.
Yeah.
After you've sided out your floodgates, that can be an issue sometimes. But yeah, I think Magician probably has the strongest matchup against it, because they can summon like 4, like a Chronograph, an Astrograph, and another guy.
Yeah.
And then just put purple poison, and then that out's Masterpiece.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it is probably the strongest deck at the moment.
Sure. Okay. And do you think with the upcoming release of Flood and Dark Saviors that this is, even without a hit on the ban list, do you think that True Draco is the sort of thing that we'll be seeing in the future then?
Yeah, I think it's the strongest deck post Flood. I've not looked into it that much. I did a couple games with Altergeist and Brandish.
Yeah.
But I think just the Brandish Draco hybrid is really good.
Okay.
It kind of works like Draco Zoo last format.
Yeah. That's quite cool.
I've not really looked into it that much.
Yeah, sure. Well, it will be interesting to see what does end up happening, actually. But who knows when we'll get a ban list, if we do, before the national format. Cool. Well, thanks very much for coming on. Are there any other comments on the deck that you want to make?
Not at all, to be honest.
Okay, sure. And are there any shout-outs you'd like to make?
Shout out to Brad for winning the event.
Yep.
Shout out to Luke Coogan and all the crew, Ben Sherman, Vlad and Tim Klex, and Dick Barber as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for coming on. Congratulations on getting 8th, and if you're up for it and you keep on getting those tops, then we'd be very happy to have you on again.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching this episode of Top Deck. If you have any comments or suggestions that you would like to make, leave them in the comment section down below. Check out the description for details of how you can get involved in this series. You can enter by voice interview, or instead you could just send all of your information over Facebook Messenger. Anything like that will be absolutely fine. If you want to see anything in particular from the upcoming series, then be sure to get in touch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.